Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Chai Break podcast. This is your host, Shweta Ravishankar.
And Ramachari from New York City. This season, we're excited to interview a roster of amazing South Asian women who have broken barriers, questioned norms, and continue to make a mark for themselves.
They come to you from all over the globe, from Bangalore to New York, Melbourne, and everywhere in between. We hope you enjoy these conversations as much as we do and chime in along the way.
So let's get started.
Hello. Welcome to the Chai Break podcast. Coming to you from a steamy, hot New York City where the temperatures are soaring in the mid-90s today. We're staying cool and we're starting our day off with our guest, Anjali Puri. Hi, Rama.
Hi, Shweta. Yes, oh my God. It's one of those days, right? It really feels like our hometown in Chennai. It's South India. It is hot and humid. I hope you all are enjoying this summer in New York. It's been an interesting summer. Pretty hot, I must say, but I do enjoy the sunshine. Before we get started with Anjali, here's a little bit about her. Anjali Puri associates herself as a multi-potentialite. You were the one who first met Anjali, right, Shweta?
Yes. So, the universe has strange ways of connecting us, but yes. I did meet her about 6 months ago in India at a pet sanctuary.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot more about it, but that's how we got Anjali on board, because Shweta met her and she had such a wonderful, just experience having a conversation with her. And that's how we decided to bring her over to share her story with all of you as well. So Anjali is a multi-potentialite. What does that mean? She has many different interests. She's a chalk carver and an Arthropod Curator. Wow. Even saying that is a big tongue twister for me. And she has spent over a decade carefully weaving her interests around the natural world. So, wildlife, animals, insects, so on. Along with practicing ways of permaculture, she intends to inherit her values from the balance of the forces of Gaia and other elements. And we need to talk about that because I am a little bit into that as well. She believes the philosophy of flow, very nice, and its teachings and bows down to it. She's also on a quest to bridge the loopholes in the community using her interdisciplinary art skills to narrate diverse, thought-provoking subjects. Her research on eco-socialism with the tribal communities has helped her understand the importance of indigenous presence in our societies. Anjali says, quote unquote, I want to trace back the lost wisdom to help individuals connect with Earth like our ancestors did, resulting in a harmonious way of life. I deeply resonate with diversified indigenous instruments and vivid cultures and look forward to reviving them using interdisciplinary arts with time. That's very well said, Anjali. I think you are kind of, talking something that I've heard a lot more shamans. Practice of shamanism kind of evolves from this, trying to connect the heaven and earth with humanity. And I'm seeing quite a connection there with you as well. She associates herself with someone who can never be put in a box. I mean, after this introduction, if you haven't figured that out, you really don't know her. So that is so fascinating. And especially it's fascinating for me because you are coming from, again, we're talking about South Asian culture. You're from India, where literally this language, when you start saying these things, you might be getting a few raised eyebrows and like, what language are you talking? I am worried about you. You should.
That's right. Worried about you is apt.
Have you talked to somebody about this? So let's talk about your journey. So that I think is so fascinating. Growing up where you're growing up.
Welcome, Anjali.
Thank you so much. This feels so warm. And I'm so happy that I'm here talking to you both.
Yeah, welcome.
About so many diverse things, especially because, like you said, I do get raised eyebrows because people feel what on earth is she talking about? Is she okay? Like, should we make her sit and understand that, hey, this is not how you are supposed to live at this age? Like, people get so confused. They're like, you are way too old for your age. I get this so often. Since past 5 years, people assume that I'm in my either like early 30s or like late 20s. And I'm like, no, I've just stepped into the adulthood. This is new to me. The world is new to me. But yeah, it's always amusing to see how clueless people are when I talk. And I'm like, okay, I can't help it.
Yeah, because I think they're stuck in that, the hustle culture as they talk about, So you have some thoughts on that. We'll get to that. But first, just tell our audience, like, how were your growing up years? What were your early influences and how did all of this happen? Your diverse portfolio of interests, how did that come about? Was it always the case?
So I studied in Kendriya Vidyalaya. Mm-hmm. I come from a defense background. So while growing up, the entire focus was on academics. Mm-hmm. And if you met me even like 3 years ago, I would have just walked past you because I would be like, oh, I have to socialize with humans now. I have to let them know who I am as an individual. I would have not even taken an initiative to talk. So Shweta, who you saw me facilitating in Prani, that I've come a long way from like my childhood, mm-hmm. because I was a very shy kid, a kid who was I was drowned in inferiority complex, mm-hmm. because I was always a chubby kid. And in India, if you're chubby and if you have a slightly darker complexion, people can make your life hell. Society did make my life hell while growing up. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And because they made me feel that I was not good enough, I never let the world know what I was good enough. So 12 years of my schooling, my friends and everyone around me were clueless of my potential. And I was clueless of my own potential. So after I stepped out of my school and I started my college, so I studied in an all-girls college. I think that's the best part of my life because when I saw how bold and confident other women were, it blew my mind. I'm like, that's the potential of a woman. And these were the kind of women who never felt that, there's something amazing about them. I mean, it's not that they had inferiority complex. They were just themselves. I kept myself in a shell. So I kept them at a pedestal and they made sure that I kept myself on a pedestal too. Mm-hmm. So it was an amazing journey. 3 years of my school, like college, where I met beautiful women, beautiful professors. I blossomed and flourished into a lady that I could never have, evolved if I was the same kid while growing up 12 years of my school. Mm-hmm.
There's such an interesting kind of similar story that we hear, just ours as well, Shweta and mine. And all the guests that we've had, many of the guests that we've had, I think it's inherently cultural in the way people are raised and then how we kind of break from that whole mold and try to just, become ourselves. And I think your story is very similar from what we hear and what we've lived through. Mm-hmm. But what I think your story is so interesting is how it kind of shaped from there. Right? I mean, the journey started with, you came to college and you met all these fantastic women and you kind of gained a sense of identity yourself, right? And from there on, you started understanding what is it that you really are here to do and what is it that really drives you. Mm-hmm. Is that a correct way of putting it, Anjali?
Yes. And there are so many things that happen midway, which I don't know if I should be addressing now or just like reveal it with time.
You can always say whatever you would like to say. I'm sure our audience always would benefit from hearing more about the life journey. So yeah, feel free to, whatever you think will help.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I want to focus on when I talk about my journey in college days. So I was in a toxic relationship mm-hmm. I was in a relationship for the very first time in my life, mm-hmm. and that ended up being toxic. And this person had the audacity to take a naive heart and just mold it and break it apart into pieces. Mm-hmm. But little did he know that, that broken heart would actually be the most beautiful art I created for myself and everyone around me. This person, by now you know that I'm into art and a lot of other aspects of culture and life. So this person told me that there is nothing in me that I can associate with art. And I think that hit me to core mm-hmm. because he knew how art keeps me alive, art lets me breathe. It helps me express. And when that comes from a loved one, it can be very shattering for a teenager.
No, it is. And it's you're very young and you're very impressionable, Yes. We're so glad that you worked through it and you became the woman you are today. But for a lot of people, that can be pretty detrimental.
Right. So when a young heart breaks apart, there are only two ways. You can either make it or you just, break more further. And that's when, I think if you don't have, I did not have a healthy friend circle either, because I don't know, I did not have even that environment or space to even talk about it. People felt that it was weird to even date someone who was so elder to me as a teenager. So like all the raised eyebrows and like, oh, what are you doing in life? This, that, la, la, la. And creating that environment from scratch, parenting myself while I was healing felt like a very huge task, like I could not talk about it to my family, no. But like I told about my healing journey to my sister after I, thought that, okay, now I've healed. So yeah, parenting my own self was a challenging task.
I mean, it's a lot of stigma, right, around these things. And I think part of it has to do with that these are not things that are normalized yet. And I think that's one of the things we're trying to do with bringing women like you to this podcast is normalizing these conversations and these experiences and to be able to feel more free to talk about them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm curious about the healing journey you mentioned, Anjali. So can you elaborate a little bit about how you overcame these obstacles?
Okay, so I was someone who had never stepped out of the house, even to my own native. So I stay in Bangalore, right? My native is Uttar Karnataka, that is Haveri and Belgaum. Mm-hmm. So I had never even boarded a train or a bus to my own native to meet my grandparents. And when I was 18, I took the first step to travel all the way to Gujarat by myself. And I think that sense of freedom that I had when I stepped out with my rucksack all alone in an unknown city, this happened when I met my toxic ex back then. Mm-hmm. But little did I know that would be the way of me healing all together. Mm-hmm. So the first time I was at 2 a.m. in the night in an empty street on a bike, the cool breeze of air that hit my face, I think that was the first time I realized, oh, this is how freedom could feel like. Mm. And since I had got the taste of it, I was like, okay, seems like I'm never turning back from here ever again. And at 19, I just packed my rucksack. I went all the way to Uttarakhand. I told my parents that, I want to give myself a period of gap here so that I can just explore myself and the country, volunteer around. So I met diverse set of people. I never knew what it feels like to step out of my own city, let be the state. So traveling across North, staying with, meeting people who have spent their decades in jail. So I ended up talking. So I had everyone around me, from a kid to someone who just got out of jail because he murdered like 2 of his family members. And I'm like, well, okay, the world is pretty crazy out here. So solo traveling, interacting with people's documentation, journaling helped me step on that healing journey. But after I moved to the forest in the Western Ghats, so like I said, I'm interested in indigenous instruments and music, right? Mm-hmm. My sister's friend is into a lot of indigenous music, instruments and everything. He plays around more than 30 to 50 instruments. And one day, my sister just saw me try beatboxing. And my sister's friend heard. And he was like, okay, the next time I meet you, I'm going to gift Anju something. I was like, what could he possibly gift me when I'm just trying my hands at beatboxing? He came home, he gave me an instrument. It's called as Dan Moi. Mm-hmm. It's a Vietnamese instrument. It's a jaw harp. So these jaw harps come to life only when you breathe in. Mm. So you put it between your lips or teeth, you strum it outward or inward, but you have to take a deep breath for the instrument to produce a sound.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
So this instrument came to my life at the exact moment when I had forgotten how to breathe. Mm-hmm. I was so anxious as a person. I was like all over the place, like getting panic attacks, having anxiety attacks. Little did I know this is what anxiety feels like, until unless a friend of mine made me sit down and he was like, hey, you do know that, you're very anxious as a person and you have anxiety attack. Right now, what you're going through is called an anxiety attack. And I'm like, Okay, I had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
So he gave me this instrument. He taught me how to play this. And the moment I strum it, the vibration hit my lips and it hit my brain nerves. And that was the beginning of me diving down into the world of music and healing through music. So I think I think this is a very interesting story that I really want to share. So this is Dan Moy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll open it. Dan Moy, yeah. So when this person gave this to me, in a week, I got in touch with a person who makes jaw harps in Mumbai.
Mm-hmm.
I followed his account and I was just telling him that, this is an instrument I've been introduced with, I was sharing how it's healing me and stuff like that. He sent me two of his instruments called Mochung and Morsing, which are like Indian jaw harps. And I was so overwhelmed as humans, like as a person, because I have three instruments that the universe was like, go breathe, learn how to breathe with the pick instruments, breathe. And I was like, okay, the universe wants me to heal. And
That's
it's giving me modes and medium to just, drown myself in learning and just slow down as a person. So this is called as a morchang. It's a Rajasthani instrument.
Wow.
You do like this and you do this, right? Is that
Yes.
the one? Yeah, I remember that.
And this right here is a South Indian morsing. It's a classical instrument. And this right here is Dan Moy, a Vietnamese instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you open it. And so this is a very cute case that they have.
Oh, nice.
This is the instrument.
Okay, give us a little demo. Would love to hear.
Yes, it's made of brass. And yeah.
That is beautiful.
Wow, that is amazing.
That is
Anjali.
beautiful.
That is
That's
simply
beautiful.
amazing. Nothing like we've ever heard before. It's really so cool.
You're making me want to go and research more about this. This is amazing.
You
I learned something
should.
new. Yeah.
You should. It would be so crazy if you guys could also get into it, because like initially you guys spoke about healing journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about how you guys were healing and how this was a medium podcast.
Yeah.
So people who are into healing, and I feel it's so courageous because it's easy to stay broken. You don't have to work anything at all. You can just be broken.
Yeah.
And it's okay. You can just dwell in that self-pity. It takes courage to be like, hey, I'll fix myself up. So yeah, when you get your hands on this instrument, it would be so life-changing because these vibrations hit your nerves. And if I only had words to express.
No, we can see it on your face. I mean, yeah, the sheer joy on your face just says it all. Yeah, no, it's beautiful. So a very interesting thing that came up when we talked to you and in your bio is how you've embraced the art of slow living, especially in a world of hustle culture. You've embraced the opposite, so kudos to you first. And we'd love to know how you're doing it.
Like I said, in my college days, I had to reparent myself with a lot of things, not just molding myself into the woman I wanted to be, but also the kind of lifestyle I wanted to lead and live. So I studied journalism. I've done my triple majors. And I was working with Times of India for a month as a city reporter intern. And in Bangalore itself, I think that made me realize on how I do not want to live my life. In that one, that small cubicle, I realized that how dead people have become. So if someone walked in and shot me right then and there, probably my team would have turned me into a news report and published it the next day rather than taking me to the hospital. So that one incident made me realize that there is something very disconnect with how the world is functioning. And I could feel that disconnect within because I was not happy at all. I was not happy trying to fit myself through how everyone is living their lives. I could not see myself doing a 9 to 5 job. And when I conveyed this to my family and my close friends, they were like, something is wrong with you. This is how all of us live our lives. This is how you will live your life 10 years down the line. And I was like, no, food for you guys. If this is what you want to choose, definitely not me. So when I told you that, I started solo traveling in Uttarakhand and other parts of India, I consciously made an effort to meet communities that are in remote locations, that have disconnected themselves from the outer reality and connected their inner self. So permaculture, community living, and just detoxing myself from the whole social media gave me a kickstart on how slow living should look like for myself. For me, slow living is also about just peacefully making my chai and just, seeing how the water is boiling, how the tea leaves are boiling, and just adding milk, just sitting and just staring at the sky, even when everyone is just rushing around me. That itself is slow living for me. If I'm taking a walk in my neighborhood, just seeing a squirrel come down from the tree, walk on the street, cross the street, climb onto an electric pole, walk through that entire electric, line. That itself is slow living for me.
Being mindful and being aware, right?
Yes.
So mindfulness. Yeah.
Yes. No, I think that being present in the moment, whether it's 5 minutes or 50 minutes in a day you have, I think that itself, can be such a grounding experience.
Absolutely.
And I think it kind of doing that actually, I feel like brings that practice of focus.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for someone like you who's doing multiple things, I feel like that the art of slow living that you've adapted to helps you focus on these different things that you do and give it more depth.
Correct.
Like we were talking in, just before we started recording, Rama, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting.
And coming off slow, so there was this one documentary called Baraka. It was shot in 107 countries, I guess, but more than 100 countries, where they captured how a human is living his life, from indigenous communities to people in metropolitan cities and countries, from China to US to India. So they kind of show the contrast in this documentary. And I still remember this one scene where in China, it was captured in with long exposure. A monk had a bell in his hand and he was walking in the busy streets of China. He was taking one step at a time. So imagine not moving till the bell stopped resonating. That frequency. And I'm like, is that even a possibility? Can someone actually have so much of patience before taking one step? That also kind of added on to how I wanted to live my life and made me reflect, how am I even living my life right now? I'm just running all over the place, just running. I was just all over the place. And that kind of helped me understand that, hey, I am not aware of a lot of things like people around me. So I started educating myself about a lot of cultures, Buddhism, Taoism.
Just want to soak it all in.
Yeah. Because, especially like in the world of the hustle culture, I feel like we've all heard of the phrase, a jack of all, master of none. But like we were talking about, in our prep call, like the full phrase actually is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Yes.
So I feel like more people need to hear the full phrase. And if passion drives all of these different things you're doing, there is no stopping.
Absolutely.
So what are the challenges? So you're doing it completely from your heart. It's the whole art of, carving chalk, collecting insects, curating, kind of being one with nature, working with indigenous groups, says a lot about how you want to be connected to earth and kind of have that connection between heaven and earth, right? Just feel, be present and stuff. This is great, but what are some of the challenges you are potentially facing, and how do you kind of work through those challenges?
I feel that even though I am one single person, I feel that with respect to my physical space, I get to live the best of two worlds. One is the metropolitan city, and one is among the nature in remote locations where I usually solo travel. So every time I come back to the city after having turned my insanity to sanity in the nature, when I'm in the city, it's very difficult to connect with people because they just do not understand what I'm talking about. They feel my language is pretty alien to them. When I talk about slow living in Bangalore, or when I talk about healing, they're like, dude, you should just get a real job. They just ask me to get a job so that, I'm fine, so that, I don't have enough idle time to think about all this. The challenge is to find like-minded individuals. The challenge is to resonate with community in a way that I can also help myself financially. The things that I do in India, it does not have the audience. How many times have you seen someone who's carving a chalk, and how many times have you seen someone who's actually willing to buy a chalk? People shamelessly ask me to give the chalk carvings for free because it just costs like 1 rupee per chalk. But they fail to understand that it's 12 years of my patience that I've put into learning the skill and art. And the audacity that people have to question the price for my art is just...
No, that's Abhi, I totally resonate with this because as artists, it's a constant thing of but it's only this. It's only a 2-minute dance performance or a 2-minute video or but the amount of work that goes into it, only if you are the one doing the work, only then and putting a value to it, a price to it, and kind of feeling the need that you have to justify why this costs money even or how much it costs is always hard. I'm even in a place like New York, right? I quickly want to, share this snippet that recently when we had our performance in May, there was this one woman who reached out to us and was actually asking us to give her a discount ticket for her child because she felt it was not worth spending $40 on an 8-year-old. But she wanted her daughter to be immersed in the arts. But I'm like, would you do this anywhere else? Would you go to a theater? Would you go to, say, another, ballet performance by the American Ballet Art Theater and ask the same thing? This is the thing, This is an Indian American woman wanting to expose her child to the arts, but she's asking us for a discounted ticket.
I think I kind of, this is unfortunate. What do you do for... as passion, what you put in a lot of effort, you can't replace that with just saying that it's a $1 thing or $1 rupee item. You can't just the idea is not to bring it down to such a level that it has lost its meaning. And if we are living in a society that is driven by putting a cost to everything, and a lot of the time the cost appeal is what you see in the front. It's more about what is visual, what you can see, what's tangible versus the intangible, which is the amount of time that you put in and the expression and the energy you put into carving that beautiful piece. Same thing with the dance too. I was completely in sync with the way you thought about, coming from, slow living to back to the city grind and how it's hard to adjust. I have not had a lot of those experiences, but I do know that in 2019, we hiked the Kilimanjaro. So we were in the wildness in Africa, in the middle of nowhere for 2 weeks, just hiking the world's single, tallest mountain. And I came back to New York City right after that, literally 2 days after I completed the summit. And I could not adjust. Water tasted different. The air was different. People it looked like everybody's words just seemed louder than what I'm used to hearing. And every car honking, everything was accentuated so multiple times. I felt I became very sensitive to what was going on around me. And I can totally relate to how it is for you going in and out of that kind of world to have a similar feeling.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
And the other, another challenging aspect that I constantly face is acceptance and giving myself that reassurance of who I am. Because it's difficult to, when you're juggling between two different worlds, you're also juggling between multiple worlds within yourself. For someone like me, I feel that if I could just make myself sit and take my brain out of my skull and keep it cool for a little while and just like ask my brain to just, it's okay, just give a pep talk to my brain, I would have done that. Because it becomes so heavy, the kind of people I meet, diverse set of people who completely dismiss the fact of slow living, to people who have just lived their life in this, in this whole now you know why I do multiple things, because I feel words are so limited. Like I can't just use words to express. That's
beautifully
said. You express your feelings through art and connections than saying in words, and I completely understand. But so finding your tribe is always the biggest challenge, right? And I think we have seen, and over time, in our podcast as well, especially when we been talking to guests this season. The tribe is where, people have the fundamental issues. There are, depending on where you are, there are mentorships, and people have had some amazing mentors along the way, some great stories from that. But again, it depends on what you're doing. For artists, I think the common source of frustration has been the lack of that communal feeling. People are not able to understand what I'm trying to do here, and I'm not able to find that connection. So what you're saying is completely understandable. And this is the whole reason why we're having this episode too, because we want people to hear your story, because somebody out there is feeling exactly the same way you're feeling, Anjali. And, probably they will be able to reach out or connect. And maybe this is just going to be the start, hopefully, for building a beautiful tribe who have similar vision as yourself. So the journey is on. It's never ended. And it's a beautiful journey that you're going through of, healing, self-love, and, finding oneself. That's beautiful.
Beautiful.
So with that, how do you envision your future going from here? Or is it too early to talk about that?
Wow, I feel that I am such a wrong person to ask this question. This question, I dread this question so much, especially in the interviews. The people, so there was this one fellowship that I had applied for. It was a social change-making fellowship in 2020, right when the pandemic hit in India. And, it was in those 21-day lockdown where the interview happened. And this person was like, this is the 4th day of pandemic and lockdown. And he asked me, Anjali, where do you see yourself 10 years down the line? And at that moment, I just said that probably alive. I don't know. So what do you expect me to say? There's a pandemic going on. And so that was then. But now if you ask me the same question again, I think I see myself blossoming into a woman who is in attune with her energy, who has sharpened her skill set so finely that it cuts through any mindset that tries to, bring down people who are trying to just thrive in a slow living world. So I want to sharpen my skill set to that extent where I am independent, I'm fierce, I'm bold, which I still am, but I can see if I had to envision my highest self. So I can also see myself having kickstarting my own initiatives, which I did. I had a website and I had an art venture, but due to financial instability, that kind of came to a halt. And that's when I was like, okay, then I started a new relationship with money and wealth. Eco-wealth. What exactly is money? Why do we need money? I still have those questions with myself. As an artist, I feel it's a constant struggle with, creating money, how you create money.
Yeah.
So my future, I think it's very uncertain. I have no idea what I will be doing tomorrow or after this call.
Which is perfectly understandable, because I think that's what's exciting as well for you, because every time you're discovering something new about yourself and about what you would like to do and about the world. Yes. But I think fundamentally, you're a person who connects with every aspect in life through energy. And I completely believe in it. And I think that kind of a tribe is actually growing now, more so ever. At least I know in the Western world here, we have a lot of this. We're putting a lot of importance in your vibe, in your vibration, in your energy, in your flow. And, we're looking forward to hearing great things from you, because I think that is, in a way, that is the right way to go about living life. And you're doing it, and the world, the universe will just provide its magic. When you connect it with it completely from an energy perspective. So wishing you all the best in that regard, hoping you find the ideal tribe there. At least we are here always. We're a tribe here, a little bit distant away, but there to root for you. And where can our audience find you and your work?
Social media, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We can definitely add your handles in our show notes.
Yes. I resonate a lot with the whole concept and the word Vajood, which means existence. And that's what my Insta handle is.
Yes. I've seen that. Definitely. That's very different. Yeah. I remember.
So there have been people who don't know my name yet. Like when I meet random people, they're like, hey, Vajood. I'm like, oh, for a moment I was like, who Vajood? Oh shit, that's me. They don't know my name. And I'm like, okay, this is a different identity that I created for myself, which is nice.
Yeah. And we're looking forward to hearing fun stuff coming from you. So keep up the good work, Anjali. And,
thank you so much.
We're rooting for you. You're part of our vibe now. We're building this whole vibe, your tribe community. And we love to hear more stories from people like you. So
this is such an inspiring way to start our day. Yeah. I think we say that in every episode, and we truly mean it from the bottom of our hearts, because I think it's also a good reminder for us, when we're, doing all of these different things, apart from our day job, and, it inspires us to keep going when the going does get tough, to juggle. But, when we see people like you doing all of these different things from a place of passion, it definitely keeps our spirits up. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me here, actually.
One more of our unsung heroes list. That's the whole point of this. We're trying to, bring out the unsung heroes. So you are definitely one of them. So good luck with everything, Anjali.
Thank you so much. Before going, is it okay if I can send some good vibrations of my Morse across, so that people know and find their mode of healing and
definitely.
Just whatever.
Yes, please.
I think that's a great way for us to sign off, as Anjali will, as you will hear her play one of her unique instruments. Yay!
Take care, everyone. Heal. I would want everyone who's listening to just heal. Get on your journey. Heal as much as possible. Don't let anything, any person, any individual, any metaphysical thing break you apart. Hold yourself together. You'll be all right.
Great. And with that message, goodbye, everyone. Take care. Thanks, Anjali.
Until the next episode, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Do continue to give us your valuable feedback via ratings, reviews, and hit the subscribe or follow button so you don't miss out on our new episodes.
Your support means the world to us. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at chai_break_podcast to get the scoop on our latest episodes dropping every Wednesday. You can also write to us at chaibreakpodcast@gmail.com.